Editing Templates Part 2. Let's continue the evaluation with normal beats. It is suggested to check every time in dmix function whether there are any other QRS forms in the template. Cluster number 3 is a noisy, hardly demixable cluster. Sweeping QRSs through, we can see that the decision of the QRSs are mostly right. Most of them are on QRSs. There are some noisy QRSs, or some that do not fall under this group. It is suggested to look them through with waterfall. We have selected 2 ventricular beats. We have to rename these selected ones to ventricular. We can see that the number of items decreased by 2. The ventricular beats got into the group of ventricular clusters. After performing an auto merge, it can be seen that they match the original template. Returning back, continue the evaluation with dmix. It is suggested to check the clusters with fewer item numbers. They are usually created because of noise. The algorithm could not insert them into the main clusters as their forms are varied. If we check them in waterfall, they are mostly from real QRSs, but may be more noisy. There's an interesting thing in cluster number 15. We can see on channel 2 that those beats resemble ventricular beats. After checking, it is clear that they are really ventricular beats. We select them with the help of Control key and replace them to ventricular cluster. Then we remove noisy beats. If we have time and energy, we can make clusters more clear. Losing some QRSs means less problem than they are staying in as artifacts. When we are ready, it is suggested to make an auto merge. Finally, let's continue with S-type beats. We look through to find the mixed clusters. It is suggested to start with a few item numbered clusters. We check them in the waterfall. The 2 last clusters are noise. We rename them. It is recommended to pay attention only to the QRS we can see, because S-detecting algorithm runs after each change. The beats that do not meet the requirements of S are renamed to the original type. The beats left in the last cluster are now all S beats. In cluster 16 on channel 2, it can be seen that all of the beats are ventricular. We rename the cluster to ventricular. Beats in cluster 13 are artifacts. We select all of them and rename as noise. Cluster 11 contains 21 QRSs. All are noise except the last 2 ventricular beats. We rename the ventricular beats, then rename the cluster to noise. The last cluster is the one with the most items. We can sweep it through, then there are some ventricular beats in it. In the first step, we remove them from here. We select and rename them to ventricular beats. We select the beats from the leftovers that are definitely noise and delete them. We perform an auto merge again. As we have ventricular beats we rename subsequently, we make an auto merge here too. Now we have only 2 focuses. We have finished the evaluation of templates.